The clock on the wall ticked mercilessly, each second a reminder of the bomb I was about to drop. I smoothed my blouse, trying to calm my nerves as I sat at the ornate dining table in my mother-in-law's house. The diagnosis echoed in my mind. Leukemia, 2 years to live. How does one share such news? "Jordan, dear, you've barely touched your food," Marianne, my mother-in-law, said with saccharine concern. "Is everything all right?" I forced a smile. "Actually, I have something important to discuss with everyone." Adrian, my husband, barely looked up from his phone. "Can it wait, honey? I've got a work crisis brewing." Before I could respond, Lucia, my sister-in-law, chimed in. "Oh, Jordan always has something to discuss. It's probably about redecorating the guest room again." I took a deep breath, steeling myself. "It's not about decorating. It's about my health." "Speaking of health," Marianne interrupted, her eyes gleaming with malice, "we need to discuss something with you, Jordan." The air in the room shifted, tension crackling like static electricity. Adrian finally put down his phone, exchanging a loaded glance with his mother. "What's going on?" I asked, my own news momentarily forgotten. Adrian cleared his throat. "Jordan, we know about your affair." The accusation hit me like a physical blow. "What? I've never." "Don't lie," Lucia hissed. "We have proof." My mind reeled. This had to be some kind of sick joke. "What proof? There is no affair." Marianne produced an envelope, sliding it across the table. "Photos, my dear, of you and that handsome doctor from the hospital." With trembling hands, I opened the envelope. Inside were grainy photos of me talking to Dr. Stevens, my oncologist, the same doctor who had delivered my devastating diagnosis just days ago. "This is ridiculous," I said, my voice rising. "He's my doctor. I've been seeing him because—" "Save it," Adrian cut me off. "We've suspected for months. The late-night phone calls, the secretive appointments. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Here I was, prepared to share the most terrifying news of my life, and instead I was being ambushed with false accusations." "You want to know the truth?" I said, my fear morphing into anger. "I have leukemia. That's why I've been seeing Dr. Stevens. I have 2 years to live." The room fell silent. Marianne's smug expression faltered. Lucia's mouth hung open, and Adrian looked more annoyed than concerned. "Oh, come on," he scoffed. "You expect us to believe that? It's awfully convenient timing, don't you think?" His words cut deeper than any knife. I stood up, my chair scraping against the hardwood floor. "I can't believe this. I came here tonight to lean on my family for support, and instead I'm being accused of infidelity?" "If you're really sick," Lucia said, her voice dripping with skepticism, "prove it." I stared at them, these people who were supposed to love and support me. In that moment, I saw them clearly for the first time, selfish, manipulative, cruel. "You know what?" I said, grabbing my purse. "I don't owe you any proof. I don't owe you anything." As I headed for the door, Adrian called out, "Jordan, don't be dramatic. Come back and let's discuss this rationally." I turned back, meeting his gaze. "There's nothing to discuss. I may only have 2 years left, but I refuse to spend them with people who treat me like this." With that, I walked out, slamming the door behind me. As I got into my car, tears streaming down my face, I realized something. This wasn't the end. This was the beginning of my fight, not just against cancer, but against the toxic family that had belittled and doubted me for far too long. I started the engine, my mind racing. I had evidence of my own, photos, records, years of documented abuse and infidelity. It was time to use it. It was time for justice. As I drove away from the house that had never truly been my home, I made a vow. I might be dying, but I was far from defeated. They had no idea what was coming. As I drove away from Adrian's family home, memories flooded my mind. How had we gone from a fairy tale romance to this nightmare? I found myself transported back to the day we first met, 6 years ago. The autumn leaves crunched under my feet as I hurried across the university campus, arms full of books. I wasn't watching where I was going and collided with someone, sending my papers flying. "I'm so sorry," a deep voice said. I looked up to see the most handsome man I'd ever laid eyes on. He smiled, and I felt my heart skip a beat. "No, it's my fault," I stammered, bending to gather my scattered notes. He knelt beside me, helping. "I'm Adrian," he said, handing me a stack of papers. "Jordan," I replied, our fingers brushing as I took them. From that moment, we were inseparable. Adrian was charming, attentive, and seemed to genuinely care about my dreams and aspirations. We'd spend hours talking about everything and nothing. When he proposed a year later, I thought I was living a dream. The wedding was perfect, just like Adrian. But as soon as we returned from our honeymoon, it was as if a switch had been flipped. "Jordan, darling," Adrian called from the living room of our new home. "Mother's coming for dinner. Be a dear and whip something up, will you?" I frowned, setting down my briefcase. I'd just gotten home from a long day at work. "Adrian, I'm exhausted. Can't we order in?" He appeared in the doorway, his expression dark. "My mother doesn't eat order-in food. You know that." I sighed, too tired to argue. "Fine. I'll figure something out." That was the first of many such incidents. Adrian's family became a constant presence in our lives, and with them came a slow erosion of the man I thought I'd married. One evening, about 6 months into our marriage, I overheard a conversation that chilled me to the bone. "Adrian, darling," Marianne's voice drifted from the study. "You've done well. Jordan's family money will set us up nicely." I froze outside the door, hardly daring to breathe. Adrian chuckled. "It wasn't hard, Mother. She's so naive, so eager to please. A few pretty words, and she was putty in my hands." "Just make sure you keep her in line," Lucia chimed in. "We can't have her getting any ideas about independence." I stumbled back, my mind reeling. This couldn't be happening. The man I loved, the family I thought I'd joined. It had all been a lie? From that day forward, I started paying closer attention. I noticed the way Adrian's eyes lingered on other women, the mysterious late-night phone calls, the way his family constantly belittled and undermined me. I tried to confront Adrian once about a lipstick stain I'd found on his collar. "Don't be ridiculous, Jordan," he scoffed. "You're imagining things. Maybe you should see a therapist about your paranoia." But I wasn't imagining things, and deep down, I knew it. I started keeping a journal, documenting every suspicious incident, every cruel word from his family. I didn't know why at the time. Maybe I was trying to convince myself I wasn't crazy. Now, as I pulled into the driveway of my own home, I realized those meticulous notes might be my salvation. I rushed inside, heading straight for the hidden compartment in my closet where I kept my evidence. As I pulled out the stack of notebooks and photos, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Adrian. "Where are you? Come home now. We need to talk." I stared at the message, my hands shaking. For a moment, I considered going back, trying to explain to make them understand. But then I remembered the cold dismissal in Adrian's eyes when I told him about my diagnosis. No, I was done explaining, done trying to make them understand. It was time for action. I picked up my phone and dialed a number I'd saved months ago but never had the courage to use. "Hello. Is this Davis & Associates law firm? I'd like to schedule a consultation about filing for divorce." As I hung up, I felt a mix of terror and exhilaration. There was no going back now. The battle had begun, and I was determined to win, not just for myself, but for every person who'd ever been manipulated and gaslit by those who were supposed to love them. Little did I know, this was just the beginning of a war that would test every ounce of my strength and resilience. The morning after my decision to file for divorce, I woke up feeling both liberated and terrified. I had barely slept, my mind racing with thoughts of what lay ahead. As I stumbled into the kitchen for coffee, my phone buzzed incessantly. Missed calls and messages from Adrian, Marianne, and Lucia flooded my screen. I ignored them all and dialed my mother instead. "Mom, I need to see you. Can I come over?" An hour later, I sat at my mother's kitchen table, pouring out everything: my diagnosis, Adrian's betrayal, and my decision to leave. "Oh, sweetheart," Mom said, her eyes brimming with tears. She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "I'm so sorry. I knew something was wrong, but I had no idea." "I should have told you sooner," I admitted. I wanted to believe I could fix things." Before she could respond, my phone rang. Adrian's name flashed on the screen. I hesitated, then answered on speaker. "Jordan, where the hell are you?" Adrian's voice was a mixture of anger and panic. "You can't just run off like this. We need to talk about what happened last night." "There's nothing to talk about, Adrian," I replied, my voice steadier than I felt. "I'm done." "Done? What do you mean, done?" His tone shifted, becoming cajoling. "Baby, I know we said some things in the heat of the moment, but we can work this out. Come home, and we'll figure it out together." I almost laughed at the audacity. "Figure what out, Adrian?" How you and your family have been manipulating me for years? Or maybe how you've been cheating on me?" There was a sharp intake of breath on the other end. "I don't know what you think you know, but I know everything," I cut him off, "and I have proof, so don't bother lying anymore." Silence stretched for a moment before Adrian's voice came back, cold and hard. "You're making a big mistake, Jordan. You have no idea what you're up against." The line went dead. I looked at my mother, whose face had gone pale. "Jordan," she said softly, "are you sure about this? Adrian's family is powerful. They could make things very difficult for you." I nodded, a grim smile on my face. "I'm sure, Mom. I'm done being their victim." Just then, a loud banging at the front door made us both jump. "Jordan," Marianne's shrill voice carried through the house, "I know you're in there. Open this door right now." My mother and I exchanged alarmed glances. The banging continued, accompanied now by Lucia's voice. "You can't hide from us, you ungrateful little bitch." My hands shook as I dialed 911. "Hello? Yes, I need help. There are people trying to break into my mother's house." As I gave the dispatcher the address, I heard a loud crash. Marianne and Lucia had broken through the front door. "There you are," Marianne snarled as she stormed into the kitchen, Lucia right behind her. "How dare you accuse my son of infidelity? After everything we've done for you." I stood my ground, even as fear coursed through me. "Everything you've done for me? You mean belittle me, manipulate me, and treat me like dirt?" Lucia lunged forward, her hand raised to strike me, but my mother intercepted, grabbing her wrist. "Don't you dare touch my daughter," she growled. The room erupted into chaos. Shouting, threats, the sound of breaking dishes. Through it all, I stood rooted to the spot, a strange calm washing over me. This, I realized, was the moment I'd been waiting for. The moment to finally stand up for myself. As sirens wailed in the distance, I locked eyes with Marianne. "You and your family have controlled my life for too long," I said, my voice steady and clear. "But not anymore. I'm taking back control, and I'm going to make sure you pay for everything you've done." The look of shock and fear that flashed across Marianne's face told me everything I needed to know. The battle lines were drawn, and for the first time, I knew I had the upper hand. As the police burst through the door, I felt a surge of strength. My fight wasn't just for myself anymore. It was for every person who'd ever been trapped in a toxic relationship, every victim of gaslighting and emotional abuse. And I was determined to win, no matter the cost. The days following the confrontation at my mother's house were a whirlwind. I'd moved back in with her temporarily, grateful for her unwavering support as I navigated the stormy waters ahead. Today, I sat at her dining room table, surrounded by stacks of documents, the fruits of my secret labor over the past few years. "I can't believe you've been collecting all this," Mom said, leafing through a folder of photographs. "Adrian with all these different women. It's despicable." I nodded grimly. "And that's just the tip of the iceberg." I pulled out another file, this one filled with financial records. "Look at this. Marianne's been embezzling from her own charity for years. And here I pointed to a series of transactions. Adrian's been helping her launder the money." Mom's eyes widened. "Jordan, this is serious. Have you shown this to your lawyer?" Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. It was a text from an unknown number. "I know what you're doing. Meet me at Riverside Park in an hour if you want the full story." My heart raced. Could this be a trap? Or was it someone with insider information? "I have to go," I told Mom, grabbing my coat. I might have a lead. Despite her protests, I headed out. The park was quiet when I arrived, save for a few joggers and dog walkers. I scanned the area, my nerves on high alert. "Jordan," a familiar voice called out. I turned to see Sarah, Adrian's assistant, approaching cautiously. "Sarah, you sent that text?" She nodded, glancing around nervously. "I don't have much time. Adrian doesn't know I'm here." "What's going on?" I asked, my curiosity piqued. Sarah took a deep breath. "I've been working for Adrian for 5 years. At first, I thought he was just a typical demanding boss, but then I started noticing things. The late-night meetings, the mysterious phone calls, the way he'd ask me to adjust certain financial records." My stomach churned. "Go on." "Last week, I overheard a conversation between Adrian and his mother. They were talking about you, about your diagnosis." Sarah's voice dropped to a whisper. "Jordan, they knew. They've known about your leukemia for months." The world seemed to tilt on its axis. What? How is that possible? Adrian's been having your medical records monitored. When he found out about your diagnosis, he and Marianne saw it as an opportunity. They've been planning to contest your inheritance, claiming you weren't of sound mind when you made your will. Rage boiled inside me. Those bastards, they were going to use my illness against me? Sarah nodded, her eyes filled with sympathy. There's more. They've been systematically draining your personal accounts. I have proof. She handed me a USB drive. Everything's on here. Financial records, recorded conversations, emails. It's all the evidence you need to bring them down. I clutched the drive, my mind reeling. Sarah, why are you doing this? You could lose your job. She smiled sadly. Because what they're doing is wrong, and because I've seen how they've treated you. You deserve better, Jordan. As Sarah walked away, I stood frozen, the weight of the USB drive heavy in my hand. This was it. The key to destroying Adrian and his family once and for all, but using it would mean war, a brutal legal battle that would consume what little time I had left. I thought about Adrian, about the love we once shared and how it had twisted into something ugly and cruel. I thought about Marianne and Lucia, about years of subtle jabs and not-so-subtle humiliations. I thought about my mother, always my steadfast supporter, and how she'd stand by me no matter what I chose. Finally, I thought about myself, the woman I used to be, the woman I'd become, and the woman I wanted to be in the time I had left. In that moment, standing alone in the park with the evidence of years of betrayal in my hand, I made my decision. It was time to fight back, to reclaim my life and my dignity. Adrian and his family had no idea what was coming. With renewed determination, I pulled out my phone and dialed my lawyer. It's Jordan. I have something you need to see. Let's end this once and for all. The morning after my meeting with Sarah, I woke up with a renewed sense of purpose. I'd spent half the night going through the files on the USB drive, each revelation stoking the fire of my determination. Today was the day I'd leave Adrian and his toxic family behind for good. I packed my bags quietly, not wanting to wake my mother just yet. As I zipped up the last suitcase, I heard a soft knock at my door. Jordan? Mom's voice was thick with concern. Are you sure about this? I turned to face her, seeing the worry etched on her face. I have to do this, Mom. I can't stay in that house another day. She nodded, pulling me into a tight embrace. I know, sweetheart. I wish things were different. Me too, I whispered, fighting back tears. But I'm going to make them different. Starting now. As we loaded my car, I felt a strange mix of fear and exhilaration. I was leaving behind the life I'd known for years, but I was also stepping into a future where I could finally be free. The drive to Adrian's house, our house, was tense. I rehearsed what I'd say, how I'd stand my ground against the inevitable storm of manipulation and gaslighting, but nothing could have prepared me for what I found when I arrived. The front door was ajar, and I could hear raised voices from inside. Cautiously, I stepped in, my heart pounding. You idiot! Marianne's shrill voice echoed from the living room. How could you let this happen? I peered around the corner to see Adrian, Marianne, and Lucia huddled around a laptop, their faces pale with panic. I didn't know she was keeping records, Adrian hissed. How was I supposed to know? You should have known, Lucia snapped. Jordan's always been too smart for her own good. I cleared my throat, and three heads whipped around to face me. The look of shock on their faces would have been comical if the situation wasn't so serious. Jordan, Adrian stammered, quickly closing the laptop. We didn't hear you come in. Clearly, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. I'm here to collect my things. I'm leaving. Marianne's eyes narrowed. Leaving? Don't be ridiculous. Where would you go? That's none of your concern, I replied, moving towards the stairs. I'll be out of your hair in an hour. Adrian grabbed my arm as I passed. Jordan, wait, we need to talk about this. About everything. I yanked my arm away, fury rising in my chest. There's nothing to talk about, Adrian. I know everything. About your affairs, about the embezzlement, about how you've been planning to use my illness against me. The color drained from his face. How did you... It doesn't matter how I know, I cut him off. What matters is that it's over. All of it. As I turned to go upstairs, Lucia's voice stopped me cold. If you leave now, you'll regret it. We'll make sure you don't see a penny of your inheritance. I spun around, locking eyes with her. Is that a threat, Lucia? She smirked, confidence oozing from every pore. It's a promise. You're sick, Jordan. Who's going to believe you over us? We'll have you declared mentally incompetent before you can blink. In that moment, something inside me snapped. All the fear, all the doubt, all the years of manipulation, they crystallized into a diamond-hard resolve. You have no idea what's coming, I said, my voice low and dangerous. I have evidence of everything you've done, every affair, every stolen dollar, every lie, and I'm not afraid to use it. The smug expressions on their faces faltered, replaced by a flicker of fear. You're bluffing, Marianne said, but her voice wavered. I pulled out my phone, queuing up one of the recorded conversations from Sarah's USB drive. As Adrian's voice filled the room, discussing plans to drain my accounts, I watched their faces crumble. This is just the beginning, I said, stopping the playback. I'm going to take everything from you, just like you tried to take everything from me. As I climbed the stairs to pack my things, I heard frantic whispers behind me. They were scrambling, panicking, realizing that their carefully constructed house of cards was about to come crashing down. And I, Jordan Hastings, would be the one to blow it all away. The weeks following my departure from Adrian's house were a whirlwind of legal meetings, doctor's appointments, and soul-searching. I'd moved in with my mother, her unwavering support a balm to my battered spirit. But today marked a new chapter in my journey. Are you ready for this, sweetheart? Mom asked as we stood outside the yoga studio. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of my illness and the looming legal battle. As ready as I'll ever be. The yoga instructor, a serene woman named Lily, greeted us warmly. Jordan, Amelia, welcome. Let's begin our journey to healing. As we moved through the poses, I felt a spark of something I hadn't experienced in years. Hope. With each stretch and breath, it was as if I was shedding the layers of pain and betrayal Adrian and his family had wrapped around me. After class, Mom and I stopped at a local organic cafe. I never thought I'd say this, I laughed, sipping a green smoothie, but I actually feel good. Mom's eyes welled with tears. Oh, Jordan, you have no idea how long I've waited to hear you say that. Our moment of peace was shattered by the shrill ring of my phone. My lawyer's name flashed on the screen. Jordan, he said, his voice tense. We have a problem. Adrian's lawyers are pushing for an emergency hearing. They're claiming you're mentally unfit to proceed with a divorce due to your illness. My hand clenched around the phone. What? They can't do that. They're trying. And Jordan, they're also contesting your inheritance, claiming you changed your will under duress. The world seemed to tilt on its axis. Everything I'd been fighting for was suddenly at risk. What do we do? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. We fight, he replied firmly. But Jordan, I need you to be prepared. This is going to get ugly. As I hung up, I met my mother's worried gaze. They're trying to take everything, Mom. My divorce, my inheritance, they want to leave me with nothing. She reached across the table, squeezing my hand. Then we won't let them. We'll fight this together. Over the next few days, we threw ourselves into preparation. I met with my oncologist, securing detailed reports on my mental acuity. We gathered character witnesses, financial records, everything we could to prove I was of sound mind and body. But the stress was taking its toll. My body, already weakened by the leukemia, began to rebel. Fatigue set in, deeper than I'd ever experienced. Nosebleeds became frequent, bruises blooming on my skin at the slightest touch. The night before the hearing, I found myself hunched over the toilet, violently ill. Mom held my hair back, her touch gentle but her voice firm. Jordan, you need to go to the hospital. This is too much for your body right now. I shook my head, wiping my mouth with a trembling hand. I can't. If I go to the hospital now, Adrian and his lawyers will use it against me. They'll say I'm too sick to make my own decisions. But sweetheart, your health. My health doesn't matter if they take everything from me, I snapped, immediately regretting my harsh tone. I'm sorry, Mom. I can't let them win. Not after everything they've done. As I struggled to my feet, a wave of dizziness washed over me. I clutched the sink, staring at my reflection in the mirror. The woman looking back at me was pale, gaunt, with dark circles under her eyes. But in those eyes, I saw a fire that refused to be extinguished. I have to do this, I whispered, more to myself than to my mother. I have to show Adrian and his family that they can't break me, that no matter what they throw at me, I'm stronger. Mom wrapped her arms around me, her embrace a silent promise of support. As we stood there, I felt a resolve hardening within me. Tomorrow, I would face Adrian and his army of lawyers. I would stand before a judge and fight for my right to make my own choices, to control my own destiny. And no matter what happened, I would not let them see me falter. Because this wasn't just about money or divorce anymore. This was about reclaiming my life, my dignity, and my future, however long or short it might be. As I finally crawled into bed that night, exhaustion settling into my bones, I made a silent vow. Tomorrow, win or lose, I would show the world, and myself, exactly what Jordan Hastings was made of. The day of reckoning arrived with a startling clarity. As I sat in my mother's living room, surrounded by stacks of legal documents and medical reports, my phone buzzed with an incoming video call. Adrian's name flashed on the screen. My hand trembled as I answered, my mother's reassuring presence beside me. Adrian's face filled the screen, flanked by Marianne and Lucia. They looked haggard, desperate, a far cry from the polished, confident facades they usually presented. "Jordan," Adrian began, his voice a mixture of pleading and frustration, "we need to talk. This has gone too far." I steeled myself, drawing strength from the weeks of yoga, clean eating, and meditation. "I'm listening, Adrian, but make it quick." Marianne leaned forward, her eyes narrowed. "Jordan, dear, we're worried about you. This stress can't be good for your condition. Why don't we settle this amicably?" I almost laughed at the audacity. "Amicably? After everything you've done?" "Now, Jordan," Lucia chimed in, her tone sickly sweet. "Let's not be hasty. We're family, after all." "Family?" I spat the word out. "Is that what you call people you manipulate and abuse?" Adrian's face contorted with anger. "Watch it, Jordan. You have no idea what you're up against." "No, Adrian," I countered, my voice steady. "You have no idea what you're up against. I know everything. Your affairs, Marianne's embezzlement, Lucia's part in covering it all up. I have proof of it all." The color drained from their faces. Marianne was the first to recover, her voice trembling with barely contained rage. "You're bluffing. You couldn't possibly." "Would you like me to start with the offshore accounts, Marianne? Or perhaps Adrian's little rendezvous with his secretary? Oh, and Lucia, let's not forget your creative accounting at the family business." Silence fell over the call. I could almost hear the gears turning in their heads, desperately trying to find a way out. "What do you want?" Adrian finally asked, defeat evident in his voice. I leaned closer to the screen, my heart pounding. "I want a divorce, Adrian. I want every penny you've stolen from me, and I want you and your family to never ever contact me again." Lucia scoffed. "And if we refuse?" "Then I'll see you in court," I replied calmly. "Every dirty secret, every illegal transaction, every lie, it'll all come out. Are you prepared for that?" The panic in their eyes told me everything I needed to know. They were cornered, and they knew it. "You can't do this," Marianne hissed. "We'll destroy you." I felt a surge of strength, years of pent-up anger and hurt fueling my words. "You've tried to destroy me for years, Marianne. You've belittled me, manipulated me, tried to use my illness against me. But guess what? I'm still here, and I'm stronger than ever." Adrian's face filled the screen, his expression a mix of anger and desperation. "Jordan, please, we can work this out. I still love you." For a moment, I felt a flicker of the old pain, remembering the man I thought I had married, but it passed quickly, replaced by a steely resolve. "No, Adrian, you don't love me. You never did. But that's okay because I don't need your love anymore. I don't need anything from any of you." With that, I ended the call, my hand shaking as I set down the phone. Mom wrapped her arms around me, and I let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. "You did it, sweetheart," she whispered. "You stood up to them." As the adrenaline wore off, I felt a wave of exhaustion wash over me. The room began to spin, and I clutched at my mother's arm. "Mom," I gasped. "I don't feel so good." The last thing I saw before the darkness closed in was my mother's panicked face as she reached for her phone to call an ambulance. In that moment, hovering on the edge of consciousness, I realized that while I might have won the battle against Adrian and his family, the war with my own body was far from over. And as the sound of sirens filled the air, I wondered if I had the strength left for one final fight. The harsh fluorescent lights of the hospital room buzzed overhead as I slowly regained consciousness. My mother's worried face swam into view, her hand clasping mine tightly. "Jordan, sweetie, can you hear me?" Her voice trembled. I nodded weakly, the simple movement sending waves of pain through my body. "What happened?" "You collapsed," she explained, her eyes brimming with tears. "The doctors say the leukemia has progressed faster than expected." The gravity of the situation settled over me like a heavy blanket. I'd known this day was coming, but I'd hoped for more time. More time to fight, more time to live. As if sensing my thoughts, Mom squeezed my hand. "Your lawyer is here. He says it's urgent." I nodded, and she helped me sit up as my lawyer entered the room, a solemn expression on his face. "Jordan," he began, "I have news. Adrian and his family have agreed to all your terms. The divorce papers are ready." But what?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. He hesitated. "Given your condition, we need to finalize everything as soon as possible. Today, if you're up for it." I closed my eyes, letting the weight of the moment wash over me. This was it, the culmination of everything I'd fought for. "Bring me the papers," I said, my voice stronger than I felt. As I signed my name on the dotted line, I felt a strange mix of triumph and sadness. This was the end of a chapter in my life, but also the beginning of the end. Just as I finished, a commotion outside caught our attention. Adrian's voice, loud and insistent, echoed down the hallway. "I need to see her." "You can't keep me out." Mom moved to block the door, but I stopped her. "Let him in," I said. "It's time to end this, once and for all." Adrian burst into the room, his eyes wild. He looked nothing like the polished, confident man I'd married. "Jordan," he gasped, "you can't do this. We can work it out. I'll change, I promise." I looked at him, really looked at him, and felt nothing. No anger, no love, no regret. Just a profound sense of peace. "It's done, Adrian," I said softly. "The papers are signed, you're free, and so am I." He stared at me, disbelief etched on his face. "But what about us? Our life together?" I shook my head. "There is no us, Adrian. There hasn't been for a long time. And my life? It's mine, however much of it I have left." As if on cue, a wave of pain washed over me, and I gasped, clutching my side. Mom rushed to my side, while my lawyer ushered a shell-shocked Adrian out of the room. The next few days passed in a blur of pain medication, visits from friends, and quiet moments with my mother. I could feel my body failing, but my spirit remained strong. On what I somehow knew would be my last night, I asked for a moment alone with Mom. "I'm sorry," I whispered, my voice weak. "I wish we had more time." She brushed my hair back, her touch gentle. "Oh, my brave girl, you have nothing to be sorry for. You've lived more in these past months than most people do in a lifetime." I smiled, feeling a sense of contentment wash over me. "I did it, Mom. I stood up for myself. I didn't let them win." "No, you didn't," she agreed, her voice thick with emotion. "You showed them all what true strength looks like." As I felt myself drifting away, I thought about my journey, the pain, the betrayal, the fight. It had all led me here, to this moment of peace, of triumph, of love. With my last breath, I whispered, "I'm ready." And as the darkness closed in, I felt no fear, only a profound sense of accomplishment. I, Jordan Hastings, had faced the worst life could throw at me. A terminal illness, a betraying husband, a manipulative family, and I had emerged victorious. In the end, I hadn't just survived, I had lived, truly lived, on my own terms. And that, I realized, was the greatest victory of all. As I slipped away, surrounded by the love of my mother and the knowledge that I had reclaimed my life and my dignity, I felt a sense of peace I had never known before. My story, with all its pain and triumph, would live on, a testament to the power of resilience, self-love, and the indomitable human spirit.